Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hope you're all well and you're all super excited for our latest challenge, which is the 5-day Ramadan challenge. So we, as a parenting team, are super excited to share this with you. We've been working hard on this actually ever since the other one ended, hasn't it, Sister Farida?
Yeah.
We've been super hard and we're just ready to share this with you now. So we're just so excited. So we hope that all of you are ready and willing to have the best Ramadan ever, inshallah. We've got lots of speakers lined up this week, inshallah, and we also have a lovely conference coming at the end of the week, which is more of a Ramadan retreat, inshallah. And today we're going to be talking about meals and food and planning food, because Ramadan always ends up being a month of feasting, doesn't it, rather than fasting, right? So we're going to help you, inshallah. I know that a lot of mothers have asked us about fasting with little children. And obviously it is more difficult. And I think a lot of us, obviously, that have been through that, we know that it's more difficult to fast when you've got little kids around, because they always want your attention. They need feeding. Maybe you find it difficult to breastfeed them. Maybe you're pregnant and you're running around, a whole family, but you still feel like you want to fast. So today we decided to ask Dr. Nikita Islam. She is a holistic women's health coach and a former obstetrician and gynecologist with 20 years of clinical experience. So she helps women with hormonal imbalances, expressed as period problems, weight issues, fatigue, achieve inner healing through the best practices of both conventional and holistic medicine. She also supports women in pregnancy and postpartum by educating, motivating, and encouraging a healthy lifestyle. So that's fantastic, isn't it? Because I think, Dr. Nikita, you're the perfect person for this talk. And I think that's what we spoke about when we were planning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And what I would like to say again, before I forget, welcome Sister Farida back.
It's great to be here, as always.
I think all of our regular members know this. Sometimes there's so many issues going on behind the scenes that we forget certain things. But alhamdulillah, we are so glad to be here with you again. And walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, sisters. Adila, I can see your name, Facebook user. If you just give StreamYard permission, then we'll start seeing your name. So if you're on Facebook, you have to just click and give StreamYard permission, and then we'll see your names. Otherwise, it'll just show up as a Facebook user. So if you want us to use your names, please do that, or just write your name next to your comments. And walaikum salam, Sister Anjum, nice to see you as well. And Sister Iram is joining us. She is there, but she's not on camera, but she is with us. Jazakallah khair, Sister Iram, for joining us, mashallah, supporting us as usual. So Dr. Nikita, over to you then for your, I can't wait to hear this, inshallah. It's going to be wonderful.
Inshallah. So Jazakallah khair for having me on with you, and it's an honor to be here, and I hope I can share some things that everybody can benefit from. So Sarah and we got talking about how I could contribute and how I could do something which will benefit the people on the group, and especially the new moms. And this is a particular area that lots of people sort of struggle with. So the topic that we thought was, can new moms fast? The simple medical answer to it is, yes, you can, because fasting is not starvation. It is intermittent fasting. So you are fasting for a period of the day, and then you're eating normally after that. So there is no reason that there should be any problem to you yourself as a person, or in the production of breast milk for the baby. So medically, there is no problem at all, except, of course, in certain situations. Islamically, I don't want to get into the details of that. That is beyond my realm, really. But you have the concession not to fast. Because if you fear harm to either yourself or the baby through the fasting, you have the concession given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to fast. And the Prophet ﷺ, our example for everything, whenever he was given two choices, he would choose the easier of the two. So our religion is a religion of ease and not difficulty. So all the new mothers out there who have a small baby, who are breastfeeding, who maybe have other children to look after, other social responsibilities, maybe your extended family living with you, your in-laws living with you, a husband who has certain certain protocol for Ramadan and things, and you're thinking, how am I even going to fast? So this talk is for you, sisters. And if you look at Islamically, you should fast if you don't fear any harm either to yourself or the baby. And that's something just general. Now, harm can be very subjective, and what you perceive as harm, somebody else might not perceive as harm. So I'll just bring the medical aspect of it, certain conditions with the mother and certain conditions with the baby where it may be advisable not to fast. So for the mom, if you have any kind of chronic condition like diabetes or any other condition in which you have to take regular medication, it could be something short-lived as well. It could be something like maybe an infection. You have developed a water infection or a chest infection and you need to take antibiotics, which need to be taken 3 times a day. Clearly, in this case, your health is more important and you shouldn't be fasting. Some women would tend to get very dehydrated. Now, how would you know? Now, normal thirst and hunger is quite common. I mean, if you're fasting, you would feel thirsty and hungry. But how would you know that you're getting really to the stage of dehydration? So you would be maybe starting to feel very dizzy, lightheaded, and your urine is of a very dark color, or maybe you've not passed urine all day at all. Some women are prone to water infections, again, because of you're restricting your water intake, and you may feel very, very tired. Now, if that is the case, of course, if you've started fasting, you can even break your fast. Or if you haven't fasted one day and you think that, I felt really tired, of course, you can take a break. You do know that. With the baby, if the baby is born prematurely, so born before 9 months, before you completed the 9 months of pregnancy, you know that these babies need a lot of feeding, and it is really important that they get the breast milk. And in these cases, I think it is probably the baby's health takes precedence over your fasting. And in this case, because you want to make sure that the baby is getting enough milk, it may not be advisable to fast. The other thing is if the baby is sick, if the baby has an upper respiratory infection or diarrhea, in these kind of cases, the baby needs a lot of hydration, which is best got through the mother's milk, which also has got a lot of antibodies and will help the baby get better. So again, in this case, the baby's health is more important, and you can always make up the fast later. One of the worries that moms always have is the baby getting enough breast milk or not? Now, this is a hard one to say, but generally, I would say if the baby is having enough wet nappies and dirty nappies and is quite settled, not crying all the time, you know that the baby is getting enough milk, because there's no way to actually gauge that, whether the baby is getting enough milk. The bottom line, I would say, is trust your instinct. Trust your maternal instinct. Trust your instinct for your own body and trust your instinct for your baby. If you think you're doing well, if you think your baby is doing well, go for it, sister. Because medically, as I said, your milk production doesn't decrease, and fasting does not adversely affect your health in any kind of way. One thing I would advise you is not to Google. Because before I came on, I sort of did my little literature search and things like that before I came on, and I went to a lot of breastfeeding forums. Now, we do know that many of these breastfeeding forums are run by non-Muslims, and they're trying their best. They're looking at, so they quote this hadith that, if you fear harm for yourself, for your baby, you shouldn't fast. But the evidence they give for that is based on one study. So if you have been on one of those forums, they would say that if you have a baby who is exclusively breastfed, that is in the first 6 months, then you shouldn't breastfeed. And that's not a fatwa for anybody to give. And the reason, the evidence for that is based on one study, which I've actually looked into. And in my humble opinion, it's not a study that I would give much importance to. So in this study, they looked at 21 breastfeeding moms who fasted, and they looked at the quality of the breast milk, And they found that although it had all the essential macronutrients, that is the fats and the carbohydrates and proteins, it was deficient in certain minerals like zinc and magnesium and potassium. And based on this one study on 21 moms, they actually come up with a recommendation that if you're breastfeeding and exclusively breastfeeding, you shouldn't fast. And I would say, as I said, in my humble opinion of my looking into this study, this is not enough evidence. I don't think your baby would suffer in any kind of way. And I think you should be all right to breastfeed if you are all right, if you feel physically all right to do and your baby is doing fine. So now we come to the point that you have decided to fast. You have made up your mind that you're going to try your best. And again, it is not an all or none thing. It's not that you have to fast the whole of Ramadan, and if you don't, then you don't fast at all. So you can fast a few days, see how you go. If you feel really tired, you can take a couple of days break. You can make it up later. So, you can be very flexible with this. And the best is to have a very open mind and just see how it goes, really. Now, I am a doctor, but I'm also a mother. I've got grown-up children now. So I've got a daughter who's 21 and a son who's 19, both in university, and a younger one who is 16. So I had the three of them within a span of 5 years. So I'll tell you my own dilemma, and I'm sure there's some moms in this group who may have a similar experience. So when I had my oldest daughter, I actually found fasting in pregnancy really difficult because I was sick throughout. The sickness never stopped. So I couldn't fast when I was pregnant with her. And I couldn't make up the fast because the first time mother, you have got all these notions that, your breast milk will decrease and all of that. So I didn't make up the fast. So when I had my son, and again, I missed some fast because of that, I had 2 years of fast to make up. And that became a huge burden for me. So this is just my own opinion, because we do know that we have to make up these fasts, even if you pay the fidya. So if you miss some fast, try and make it up in the winter months. This is my advice to you as a mother who is much senior to you, who has seen it, a long time back. And it's very easy to fast in the winter months. So if you do miss, so don't be hard on yourself. Fast as much as you can. And what you can't, just make it up in the winter months. Don't leave it for the next year. Now, if you have decided to fast, there's certain things. So the main worries that most moms have, two things, I would say. One is, how is my energy levels going to be? Am I going to be able to cope with all the work that is going on? And will I have dips in energy? And will I not be able to carry on my duties as a wife, as a mother? So this is one set of worries. The other set of worries that you have is regarding the baby. Is the baby going to get enough milk or not? So I'm going to address both of them, and both of them can be addressed through thinking about and adopting the right kind of diet. Now, there are some foods which, in medical terms, it's a mouthful of a word, but they are what is called galactagogues. Galactagogues just means foods which actually increase the supply of milk. Now, I'm sure you must have guessed one of the biggest galactagogues is what is already prescribed in the Sunnah, and that's dates. So dates are something that we should do it anyway, because it is part of the Sunnah to break our fast with it. You should have it in suhoor. So make sure that you have dates as a part of your meal. For most of us, it's enough to say that it is in the Sunnah that we should eat it, but science. So galactagogues are substances that aid the initiation and maintenance of milk supply, which meets the needs of the baby. And this is controlled by the hormone prolactin. Now, dates have an amino acid called tryptophan. This tryptophan actually increases the production of prolactin, which is the hormone which is responsible for the letdown of the milk. So dates should have a really sort of important role in during your Ramadan. There are other galactagogues, and I don't know if you can guess which the other one is. I can't see the screen, so I don't know if anybody is putting up answers. But anyway, the other one is black seeds. Okay, black seed, it has got great nutritional and health benefits, and it's also a galactagogue. Black seeds also increases the prolactin level, which helps in the letdown of milk. Then there are other seeds and herbs which also help. They're also galactagogues. And why I'm mentioning all of this, because I will tell you a recipe at the end, which you can use. Which you can use as a staple part of your Ramadan diet. Yes, oatmeal, excellent. Yes. Okay, so the other seeds that are very good is, I'll tell you the Urdu name as well, because most of you would many of you I know Urdu speaking. So one is fennel, which is soft. So that's really good. That also increases milk supply. And the other one is cumin. And that also increases fenugreek. Yes, methi, that was my next one. So these can all be used in various combinations. Somebody mentioned oats. So oats is my really all-time favorite. It is good for you. It's good for baby. It maintains your blood sugars in a way that you will feel energetic all day. So it's sort of, yes, somebody says, fennel, cumin, and fenugreek. So oats is something which will maintain your energy levels throughout the day, because it won't give you those little dips that sugar has. And it's really good. It increases the prolactin level and increases the milk supply. So it has got a two-pronged benefit. Benefits mom and benefits baby. Again, if you are a fish eater, so I would say things like salmon and sardines are really, really good. They again have got other health benefits of having the omega-3, helping the development of the nervous system of the baby, but also increasing milk production. You should incorporate lots of fruits and vegetables, and one fruit that you should specially focus on is fresh apricots. Again, it's a galactagogue. So it increases the prolactin level and increases the milk supply of the baby. So what could you do from all this? So it's all very well to know all of this, but what can you do to sort of combine all this and use this effectively in Ramadan? So one of the things that we make at home, I try not to use sugar at all. So my sweetening go-to things are either dates or honey. So what you could do, you could just take some dates, take some nuts, your whatever you like, walnuts or cashew nuts or almonds or anything of your whatever you like. So take the dates, take the nuts, take fennel seeds, cumin seeds, and black seeds, and put it all in a blender, and it blends all to a really nice gooey mix. If you think that it is sort of not binding together, you could add the other galactagogue, and that's oats. So you could just roast some oats, again, grind it a little bit and roast it and mix it in this mixture. And I have personally tried it. We have it at home, and you can make sort of little really nice galactagogue balls, shall we call it, with all the nutrition of dates and cumin and fenugreek and black seed and oats and nuts as well. So it's a really, really good thing for you to plan and make it and keep it in Ramadan. And you can have it a couple of balls during iftar, a couple of balls during suhoor. But just be mindful, they're really, really delicious. So you may be having other people have it in your family, like your children or your husband, who don't really need it so much. So make sure you store up plenty. And, anyway, they're really easy to make. You can make them again. So that's something that maybe you could use. And I hope that would benefit you in keeping your own energy levels up and your milk production going, so that you don't need to worry about yourself and you don't need to worry about baby. The other way that you could use the seeds, so the black seed and the fennel and cumin, which has got so much of benefit, is you could boil it and cool it and have it like after iftar and all the way through suhoor, and that would really help. So talking about water, one of the most important things is not to get yourself dehydrated. And when you do get dehydrated, that is a time when you start feeling very low, and there is a theoretical risk of your milk production decreasing as well. So I would say aim for two. So there is, just don't gulp down the water, because when you gulp it down, your stomach absorbs it, goes into your bloodstream, and you excrete it through your urine. So it's not going to stay in a sustained way so that, it sort of benefits all your body, all the cells and all the systems. So the best way to have water in Ramadan is have a little bit at iftar with your dates or whatever you're having, and store. If you're going to make this kind of water that I told you about with all the seeds in it, so that you have all the benefits of the seeds, which will help you with the letdown of the milk, you can just cool it and store it in a bottle. And that way you'll be able to monitor how much water you've had. Psychologically, you'll feel that you've had that amount of water, so you shouldn't be feeling dehydrated. Our mind really works wonders. If you feel you're eating well and you're drinking enough, you will feel good to go. And it just creates a different kind of mindset. So to make it measurable, if you keep it in a bottle, if you store it in a bottle, it'll be really good. So you'll know that you've had. I would aim for 2.5 liters of water. I know it's a lot to get through because you only have the night, but just keep it with you. So when you're reading your Quran and when you're reading your praying your Taraweeh, just keep sipping it, and inshallah it'll work. The other thing that I wanted to say is to focus on whole foods. And I know with our communities, we like to have white rice. So what sugars and white rice does is it's foods which have got a very high glycemic index. Simply speaking, what it means is it raises your sugars up a lot. So when it raises your sugars up a lot, your insulin gets kicking and brings the sugar down. And then you get that, that craving that you need to eat again, or you start feeling very fatigued. So you have your sugars go that way. And that's not good for you. So the best way to keep your energy levels up is to have whole grains. So either you have brown rice, or oats is a great option. If you're having bread, have wholemeal bread. If you're into rotis and things like that, make sure that they are wholemeal again. So these kind of things, all wholemeal grains, they're really good for you. Give you the sugar that you need, but give it to you in a way that is sustained throughout. Now, towards the end of the day, you are likely to feel a little bit down. But remember, it's not just so once your body has metabolized all the carbohydrates and proteins and fats that you've eaten at suhoor, you have enough body stores. This is something we need to remember. So, our fat stores can be broken down, and we would be quite happy to have that happen, isn't it? Because you would lose in the process a little bit of weight as well. So you don't really starve. So fasting is not starvation. This is something quite important to remember. So don't fear, sisters. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Your body can take care of itself in the 14 to 16 hours. I'm not sure exactly how many hours of fast it's going to be, but it's going to be fine, inshallah. Okay. So we talked about, make sure you eat a balanced meal. So make sure that, plan out your meal. So what I would do is, if you're feeling up to it, we are in Shaban, and the Prophet ﷺ, Shaban was the month that he used to fast the most other than Ramadan. Now, as a breastfeeding mom, I'm not asking you to fast the days of Shaban, but if you wanted to do just one fast, it would give you the ajr of fasting in Shaban, and it would give you a little bit of, so if you try to eat certain kinds of foods, you would know that this really works for me, and maybe you could replicate that in Ramadan. So if you're feeling up to it, and if you're somebody so everybody is different, some people just go through Ramadan without any problems at all, and, no dips in energy, nothing like that. If you're one of those sorts, give the Shaban fast a try and see how you go. So we talked about hydration, keeping yourself really well hydrated, making sure you have lots of fruits and vegetables. So a really good thing is a fruit salad during iftar, and that's this is one of my favorite. We always have it at dinner time, at iftar time, and there's always a little bit of fruit salad left over, which sometimes you can have it in the middle of the night as a snack. So what I would say is start thinking from now, what are you going to eat? Your family situation is unique to you. You know what other members of your family like to eat. But don't forget your need, because nobody is going to come and do that for you. So make sure that you have planned something for yourself, something that is going to be your go-to kind of a thing. A very good thing is a chicken soup with oats, maybe. So it gives you your protein, your carbohydrate, and you can add a dollop of butter to it, a good quality fat. Make sure you have nuts around that you can snack on nuts. They're really good source of fat. So make sure you've thought for yourself something that is easy, something that you can maybe prepare beforehand. You could make a big pot of soup, couldn't you? And have it for 3-4 days if nobody else wanted to have it, and that will still keep you going, keep your energy levels up, and give you the nutrition that you need and what you need to breastfeed your baby. So do prioritize yourself. Start, just like Ramadan is of course a month of fasting and not feasting, but then sometimes our families wouldn't understand, and you would have certain things that you need to do for them. So make sure you do them before, so that you don't have that much of stress during Ramadan. In the list that you make, oftentimes we are not there on the list, but don't do that, because nobody's going to come and do that for you. So make sure you prioritize yourself, make sure you look after your own needs. So again, coming back, hydration, galactagogues, and a balanced whole meal. This should be your go-to during Ramadan, and lots of dua, and Allah will make it easy for you. And inshallah, you'll get the benefit of Ramadan, the fasting, and all the benefits of it, and your baby will be fine as well.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for that, Sister Nikita. We really enjoyed listening to that, and I've noticed in the chat as well that people maybe that aren't even breastfeeding, I think it's important for us as well, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
Levels up.
Yeah.
In terms of, especially when we've got little children that we're running around and chasing around, I think that it's important that we all do keep our energy levels up. Mashallah, that was really interesting. For Sister Farida, do you want to?
Yeah, I just want to say Jazakallah khair, Nikita, for that absolutely informative talk. I just wish I'd met you 11 years ago. That's all I can say. When I was pregnant, it was Ramadan, and I actually questioned myself at the time: do I fast? Do I not? Do I fast? Do I not? I ended up fasting, and I was absolutely fine. But the following year, I didn't fast because I was breastfeeding. And to be honest, I didn't look into detail what I could and couldn't do. I just said to myself, I'm breastfeeding, right? I can't fast. It took me a while to make up those fasts. But if I knew what you've just said now, that would have given me the kind of the push and think, do you know what, Farida, you can still fast, even if you don't fast for the entire month.
Exactly.
I still had a go and thought, you know what, I'll put these things in place. Let me try. But I was point blank, I can't fast. I'm breastfeeding, I can't fast. And I didn't know any different at the time. So I think the advice that you've given to any new mums out there is absolutely invaluable. Like I said, I needed you in my life 11 years ago.
And the other thing that I would say is that, Farida, we have had this conversation before as well. The less we eat of sugars and refined carbohydrates, the better.
Yeah, and I can vouch with that, because we've been working together, haven't we, for the past months. And I've learned a lot of things about nutrition, how I'm eating, and I've made lots of small changes, which alhamdulillah are making me feel better. But I am going to make these protein balls. I really am.
Whether they're delicious.
I'm not pregnant and I'm not breastfeeding. My daughter's old, but I am making those protein balls.
Do you know something? My principle in the kitchen is I should stay the minimum amount of time there. So I don't like to do things which take a lot of time, but I do like my food. I'm quite a foodie in my own way. So these are delicious and they take no time at all.
Fantastic. Can we put the recipe up on our Facebook in our 5 days?
Yes, do that. And there's a very nice oat soup that I do as well, which I learned in my days in Saudi actually. And that's really nice as well, with some like a bone broth, and it's really, really nutritious, really good for everybody. As Sarah said, not just for the breastfeeding moms.
No. I'm definitely going to try some of these. The soup, I've noticed that my because we live now in the Middle East, and this is what the Arabs eat a lot of, like they have a lot of soup and shorba at iftar time, and salads are like a huge thing on the table. But with my Desi background, let's say, we don't really do that. But our table would usually have samosas and, like I said, fruit chaat probably, but usually samosa chaat instead, so it's these kind of little things, like Sister Farida just said, the small little changes that we make that actually give us that boost of energy that we need during the day. Because obviously, in some countries, obviously Muslim countries, life does slow down for us, but I know, like back in the UK, you guys are working all the time as well. That doesn't stop. You still got to get up and do that. The kids are still at school. There's no kind of leeway that I've found, so on that side, you've got to just be careful. Obviously, like we said, it's not about feasting, but it is about generally taking care of yourself. And we've talked about that quite a lot with our mothers, because we do tend to put ourselves on the back burner. And then when we get to this level of, oh my goodness, I'm so exhausted, I can't do this anymore, people are like, well, you should have looked after yourself. Well, hello, nobody told me to look after myself, otherwise I would have. So we do want our audience, inshallah, all of you mothers out there, please do look after yourselves, because you are the integral cog. If you're not there for your family, what's going to happen? Obviously, inshallah, they will survive. But what I mean is that they need you, so you need to look after yourself, inshallah. So we have a couple of questions, Nikita. So the first one is this one from Sister Masuma. So if Ramadan comes around 8 months, is she allowed to skip fast even if she doesn't have any medical issues?
Yeah, so if you're finding it difficult to fast, then you don't have to fast. Is it going to harm you? Not really. Is it going to harm your baby? I don't think so. Because remember, it's an intermittent fast. It's not starvation. So you just have to go by what you say. Now, again, if you asked a medical professional who's not Muslim, they would come up with all kind of requirements of pregnancy and things. I would say, just listen to your body. Just listen to your body. Start off the fast, see how you feel. If you feel really exhausted and you cannot carry on anymore, break your fast. You're always allowed to do that. But I know lots of people who have fasted in the last months of pregnancy, and they have been actually absolutely fine, because you don't want to be left with the regret that, oh, I could have done it, I didn't even try. So what I would say to you, sister, try one day and see how you go. And all these things that we've talked about, obviously you're pregnant, so you're not breastfeeding, but these tips about nutrition holds really well for you as well. The other thing that I wanted to share, as I told you, I'm a real foodie, so and healthy food again, and quick food, is something like chickpeas. And again, it's a very desi thing, having chickpeas or the kale chane. They are really full of nutrition, so many, I don't want to go on into all the vitamins and minerals. I'm sure you can read that up online, but really, they're really good for you. Again, a complex, it releases energy slowly, so you don't have those sugar things going up and down, and it gives you a really steady, flow of energy throughout the day. So what I would say, sister, try and fast one day and see how you go.
That's fantastic advice, mashallah. I think, what's really important to realize is that in our culture, a lot of women have this thing, I'm sure you've heard of it as well, sisters, where it's like after you've had the baby 6 weeks, you just stay in your bed or something like that, which has come from like the background from years and years ago. Whereas when we're in the UK or in the Western countries, we can't do that. We physically don't have that freedom to do that. And I think that, again, it's this belief that Sister Farida said, like, no one tells us, by the way, you can try to fast a little bit, because like you said, Sister Nikita, that burden of all these fasts that you have to make up, because I remember I had like 60 as well when my kids were little, because for me, for some weird reason, I always tend to give birth about a month before Ramadan. It doesn't matter when Ramadan is, just about a month before I give birth. So for me, I've had 3 teeny babies, and those 90 fasts were difficult, or let's say are difficult, because I'm pretty sure I still haven't made them up yet, because you still have your ones that you miss anyway, generally as a woman. But I did take the opportunity while I was in the UK. Mashallah, it was like 4 o'clock or 4:10.
Yeah.
While I was there, it was sort of end of November time, and it was amazing. And I was just like, whoa, this is so easy. You literally only skipping breakfast, really, because I was staying at my mum's, so it's kind of like a late breakfast brunch anyway. So in that way, I think inshallah it will be really, really good. Sister Adila said, I reckon we're up straight away after giving birth, looking after the family. Yeah? And she said that she would kept the summer fast during pregnancy, and it's challenging, but spiritually it's really nice.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Adila, because I often feel that you feel so spiritually uplifted, when you do fast, and so that's why I was saying, don't give up without trying. It may so be that you're not able to fast, you feel really fatigued, or you're feeling sick or something like that, and you have to break your fast, but at least you have the spiritual feeling that you tried your best, so that's a really
it is true. And when you're fasting, you feel part of Ramadan. When you're not fasting, I think you lose a little bit connection.
Yeah, that is so true, because I felt like that for that whole month whilst I was breastfeeding, that I didn't fast, and I can still go back to that time and think how awful I felt.
Oh, really?
And I do wish that I had
done an enormously wonderful job, Sister Farida.
but it is still kind of, now when I think about it, why didn't I try? But it was point blank, you're breastfeeding. And it was like, that was like, no.
Yeah. The first couple of kids, that's how it was. It was like, you're pregnant, you don't do it. It was like, you don't, not like you could try, Even my mum, that is diabetic, so she was like, oh, you've got an excuse, you don't need to fast. So I think there was one Ramadan where she was like, oh, I can't. It was like this, again, limiting belief that I can't do it. But actually, when she did try it, she was absolutely fine. And she was like, I'm fine. I'm just going to carry on. If she has a hard day, she does take a day off here or there, but it's all right because she can. But she manages, alhamdulillah, to fast pretty much all of it. So it's again, it's that thing, that belief that we're kind of told, isn't it? That's what I feel like in our minds or in our brains. And Sister Musuma, mashallah, that's fantastic. She said that she's got the confidence, but she said, so she wants to try, but her husband is worried and he doesn't want me to. So do you have any advice about that? About the husband?
Masuma, I would say this. In fact, I wanted to mention this, and I'm glad you brought it up. Sometimes there is pressure from either your husband or your in-laws who have certain set beliefs that this is how things should be. But remember, sister, fasting is your personal act of ibadat, isn't it? This is not something that can be, you can take people's advice, but at the end of the day, you are answerable to Allah, not your husband and not your in-laws or not your sister or not your mother. So I think it's a very personal decision. I mean, obviously we have to listen to our husbands, and I would say, if you are really keen to fast and he doesn't want you to, say something like, take him on board. I mean, don't say that, oh, I'm going to fast no matter what. Not that way, but just say that, shall I try? Shall I just try and see how it goes? And that might be a really nice way to, if that's what you want, if you want to fast, that might be a nice approach, So, take him on your side and say that, why don't I try? I really feel good if I can do it. And, so maybe and I'm sure he'll really support you with that.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. Like, just communicate how you feel with them, because a lot of people worry about that, conflict in a home. If the conflict doesn't have to be negative all the time, we're not going to agree all the time, a lot of the time. So we have to find positive ways of calming the household down, of talking about things. Yes, so that's fantastic advice, sister. So I have one more here. Are there any foods that can prevent dehydration if fasting while pregnant or breastfeeding?
I don't know anything that can prevent dehydration, but I know one thing, and so the coffee lovers don't kill me for it, but caffeine is something that I would say that you must avoid, because that does really dehydrate. So I sort of have had it on my list somewhere I forgot to mention it, so I'm glad you brought it up. I don't know anything which prevents dehydration. Honestly, I don't. But avoid caffeine because that does dehydrate. So, and what I would say is if you're going to stop the caffeine in Ramadan, the time is now. Sort of wean yourself off it. So if you're having 3 cups, make it down to 2 or 1, and then that'll help you get through Ramadan, inshallah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys said that as well, because everyone knows that I love coffee and I feel like I can't live without it some days. But I have to figure this out because it's super important. Now, I'll be honest with you, I do have coffee in the morning, but I try not to have it in the iftar or like at the night time, especially because you're trying to get your sleep pattern as well gets messed up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really messes up with your sleep pattern. Yeah, and with you, Sarah, probably doesn't matter so much. But if you have a baby, the caffeine passes through the breast milk as well, isn't it? And it messes up the baby's sleep pattern. And the last thing you want in Ramadan is a baby who's not sleeping. You're not sleeping.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I don't think either.
So do you not? Yeah.
Sister Masuma said, I just wanted someone to tell me that. Jazakallah, sister. That's amazing. That's the thing, sister.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, we're very glad to help you. And Sister Susan is saying to drink water in small sips and lots of fruit. That's absolutely brilliant, mashallah. Bless Sister Adila. She's like, one sleepless night. They're nearly over for you, Sister Adila. You're nearly there, inshallah. I think her youngest is 2, mashallah, bless her.
I think the last month of pregnancy, Adila, is the hardest. I really honestly. Oh, was it Masuma or Adila? Who was the one?
Masuma, I think, is on the last month. I think Adila's youngest is 2. Yeah.
So I think the 8th, in my opinion, the last month of pregnancy is the most difficult. Sleepless nights.
Yeah,
just can't wait to give birth, and it's really hard. So,
I took a screenshot of someone. Let me just see if I can share it. Because it was actually super funny, and I was like, I wish I can. I was going to make it into a post, but this is exactly how you feel in the last month. Let me just see if I can share it. It's not letting me, I don't think. Ugh. Never mind. Carry on talking, and I'll see if I can do it.
Absolutely great advice, though, Nikita. And I think we're right in saying that making those small changes. And I was really conscious of that last year because it was my first Ramadan at home. Because I've always worked. It actually felt like Ramadan last year. So I started to introduce like salads and soups, which we really enjoyed. And it was kind of, I wasn't quite sure if my husband was going to embrace it because he is very he loves all the desi food. Where me and my daughter are quite adventurous, but he likes his traditional. So what I did was, it was a bit of traditional food for him, but we'd still put the kind of the soups and the salads, because obviously we sit and all eat together. So it was like, do you want to try a little bit? And it was like, yeah, go on then. So even if he tried a little bit, it was like, yeah, it's fine, it's good. But we kind of introduced, so the table looked different as well. And alhamdulillah, it encourages my daughter to kind of then eat the soups and the salads as well, and include her in actually making them.
Yeah.
So it's those little changes, I think.
Yeah, it really makes a huge difference. And the other thing that I don't know if any of you do that, I used to eat my children's leftovers. I know you shouldn't be leaving food, first of all, but they invariably leave something, and that can create havoc. So don't do that. You are not a dustbin. Don't do that. I've been doing it all my life. But that's my advice to you. Don't do that. It's not working.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Because you have this thing again in your mind. Oh my goodness, I'm wasting food. Because again, that's been drilled in us since little kids. Even if you waste a grain of salt, it's really bad. Well, obviously, I do understand it is, but I think that when you realize, actually, I can just put a little bit less food in their plate, or they can put their own food in. And then I know that they're not going to leave any of it because they've actually chosen it again. So giving them that choice, I think that's a very, very...
Yeah. And cook in a moderate kind of a way, so you don't have too
Yes.
much of leftovers and things, because then you're just sort of eating all that, and then they don't like that. So just sort of be quite creative about it. And I
Yeah.
really like what you said, Farida, about in a very sneaky way, getting the soups and the salads, and getting everybody to have that. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so passionate about women learning about nutrition, because
Yeah.
you are the one who buys the food, you're the one who cooks the food. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rupina, I know exactly what you mean. So when you start buying the right kinds of foods and cooking the right kinds of foods and slowly introducing, as Farida said, so cook the desi stuff. You can't change them in a day, can you? But introduce the little things as well, and the little salads and the little, healthier stuff. You can make such a difference to your own health and to the health of your family. Yeah.
Fantastic. Jazakallah so much. Thank you so much for joining us, sister. It's
Well,
just been so interesting. And me and Farida, we get carried away, don't we?
I know. We could go on for hours.
We can, we really can. And we've got evidence of that, haven't we? Inshallah, yeah. So it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And mashallah, the audience have really enjoyed it. Sisters, if you have any last questions, I can quickly pop one more in. But Jazakallah khair, Dr. Nikita, it's been so informative, so valuable. And I think that it's really going to help a lot of sisters to know that first of all, you're not alone. We've all kind of, a lot of us, when you have kids, you obviously are in the same boat. And inshallah, hopefully it'll make it easier for you to fast this Ramadan. And, that concession is there. So
Yes.
if you do, decide not to fast, then there's no sin on you. It's not a big deal. Just take that day off, take a few days off, and then go back to it if you want to, if you find it easy. So there's no compulsion in religion as well. And Dr. Nikita correctly said, it's your deen, it's up to you what you would like to do. Yeah, inshallah. So Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Sister Adila and Sister Masuma, for all of these questions. So we have two more now that have just popped up. So first of all, some foods cause heartburn after iftar. So
Yes.
do you have any advice
Yes,
for that?
Yes, I do. I love my samosas as well, I'll be honest. Yeah. But if you have fried foods and your pakore and your samosa, it is very, very likely that it'll cause you heartburn. And you remember, if you're pregnant, you are more likely to have heartburn, because the whole physiology of the body changes, and the organs get displaced because of the growing baby. So you're more prone to have heartburn. So I would say stick to things like milk or yogurt and fruits. Avoid the fried food if you can. What you could do is, if you really can't do without your samosas, I don't want you to completely change your, it's not possible for anybody, is it? Have it later on, but don't have it when you break your fast. Don't have it at iftar. The first thing, like after the base, should not be the samosa. That's really going to cause you heartburn. And go slow on the spice, if that's possible at all, because like the more spicy and the oilier food is, we love our spicy and oily curries, we all do, but maybe go slow with that. Maybe go for more grilled things, and I don't know any of you. I'm a great fan of lentils. Any kind of dals is really my go-to thing, and again, very nutritious. Will give you that slow, steady energy throughout. So go for something like grilled fish and grilled chicken and dal, especially if you're in your later part of a pregnancy. Curries, and especially spicy and oily curries, and fried food is a big no-no if you do suffer from heartburn.
Can I just quickly say, with the samosas, I sometimes brush them with oil and put them in the oven.
Yeah.
That as well.
Yeah. Or you have the air fryers. If any of you, I'm not a great fan of the air fryers.
No.
But the bacon. Are you?
I've got back into it. There was a certain time when we were like, oh no, I'm not into this. But for samosas, for spring rolls, for chicken, when they do chicken strips, you just take the chicken and put it in batter. Yeah. For all of that, it is really good. And apparently, I still haven't been there, but one of my friends said there's Facebook groups with air fryer recipes, and they're really, a lot of them are really healthy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
But I'll be completely honest, we don't do chips in the air fryer because I think that just put us completely off chips for ages. So there's certain things that you can have, do you know what I mean? But you can't do like stuff that we're used to. We've got to have, it's got to have a bit of oil. Come on, it's chips. So you've got a bit of a balance, and I'm always like that, Sister Farida, isn't it? I'm like, it's all right. It doesn't have to be all perfect. You can have these dips up and down. And I'm glad we started talking about food as well, because Sister Yusra is going to be here later on today, inshallah, at 5 p.m. UK time, which I think is in about 3 hours for you now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So inshallah, she'll be here and she'll be talking more about meal plans. She's got a really lovely PDF that she's going to share with us with a couple of recipes and lots of advice about what she's going to talk about. And Sister Nikita, if you can share with us your recipes as well,
yes,
so
certainly
I can pop them in the Facebook group.
Yeah. So where
share
do you
them
want
directly
to share?
if you like.
Okay, I'll share. Where do I share it? Sorry.
You can send it to me on Messenger and I'll share it in all the Facebook groups.
Yeah, so I'll share you my nut bowl recipe and my oat soup recipe. So that's really good.
Fantastic. Sorry, I've got one last question. What do you suggest for anyone suffering migraines, from Sister Saima?
Okay, migraines, if you have classic migraines, which, if you've been diagnosed as migraines, you have to know what causes the trigger. Yeah, so what is your trigger? So some people have trigger as food, some people have trigger as light, some people have trigger as dehydration. So you need to know what is your trigger and avoid that. Are you somebody... The reason why you're asking this question, is it, are you wanting to ask how do you deal with migraines in Ramadan? I presume that's what you're saying. So if you do get an attack of migraine in Ramadan, and you have to take my medication, otherwise it will not get better, you just break your fast. It's just, like you can't. That's for any kind of illness. For instance, somebody might start, you might have a bout of tummy upset. It happens sometimes, and you can't fast. So you break that day's fast, and that's absolutely fine. That's the ruling of sickness, isn't it? That it'll apply to you.
Yeah, inshallah. I think with me, I get these caffeine withdrawal headaches. They're really bad. But last year, so I do what
Can you not get caffeine patches?
You know what? That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Are we allowed in Ramadan?
Sorry.
Sister Saima said she's been dealing it for many years and she wanted to ask for some recommendations. But one thing that really did help me last year with these headaches was EFT therapy. So the tapping therapy. It was amazing. I did it with a sister called Sonia. She's no longer doing these sessions and she's not on Facebook a lot anyway. But Sister Amina Jane, who came to the last conference, I think she's done a couple of sessions on it as well. But it's literally telling yourself and calming yourself down, and you literally do the same thing, over and over again, and it actually did make me feel better. And I promise you, I was so skeptical. I was like, this is not going to work at all. My headaches are the worst, but honestly, it really did, and it calmed me down. So like Dr. Nikita said earlier, a lot of it might be even psychological, having these headaches and things like that, not migraines obviously, but I'm just saying that these things that might be a little bit psychological, we can then put something in place that helps you to deal with it, inshallah. Yeah. All right, so again, Jazakallah khair. Third time lucky.
We are going with you.
It's been fantastic, but inshallah, definitely come inside the Facebook group. Let us know how everything goes. And sisters, if you have any questions or anything, Dr. Nikita is in the Facebook group, inshallah. Sister Rabina, I'm going to leave your question to later on because Coach Yusra is going to be with us, and she'll be talking especially about exercising and fasting as well, and keeping on the wagon, so to speak. So you don't need to ruin your diet just because it's Ramadan. That's what I do every year. So I hope that everyone's enjoyed today. Jazakallah khair again. It's been fantastic for me. What about you, Sister Farida? Have you got any last words?
No, just take on the advice from Dr. Nikita. Absolutely amazing. So, Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Lovely to be
Dr.
here. I
Nikita,
hope you all have a really nice Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And yeah.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Thank you, sisters, for joining us live. And please do join us for the rest of the week. So 5 o'clock today, we're going to have Sister Yusra coming in. And then about 1 o'clock every weekday afternoon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.